Mysteries at the museum. Night-time was gently descending upon the city. The museums had shut their doors. All of the visitors had gone. Everything seemed to be asleep, and day had given way to night. However, at the Musée National d'Histoire et d'Art, if you listened closely, you could hear a little voice whispering. "Another night where I'm alone. What a bore! What if I left? If I dared?" It was the little faun in his photograph. He climbed out of it, leaving it empty. He set out to discover the rest of the museum. He examined the paintings, landscapes, still life paintings, portraits, and stopped in front of a painting of a beautiful lady and her dog. He too would like to have a dog, and so he started to search every nook and cranny of the museum to find one. Finally, he found a dog made out of clay, all battered and broken up. He took it upon himself to heal his new dog, and took some pieces of ceramic. Since fauns have magical powers, he took a small flute out of his pocket and let his music ring out in the hallways. When he heard the music, the dog started moving, half asleep, and then got up. How big the dog was! The little faun tried to find him a name, but the dog did not give him the time and started exploring the halls of the museum. And when he saw the outside from the bridge, he started to bark. "Quiet! You're going to get us caught," said the little faun. "All right, we can go out, but be quiet." As soon as they were outside, the little dog stretched his legs, when suddenly he stopped. A shadow had passed by, in front of them. They hid behind a big bay window, then pushed the door that read Casino Luxembourg, Forum d'Art Contemporain. They visited the premises. Amidst the other artworks, they felt safe. Then, when they saw from the top of the little belvedere that the street was deserted, they decided to go out again. The dog leapt and took off in great strides. They found themselves in a beautiful park where they could enjoy the open air and the starry sky. There was a hint of freedom floating in the air. And after having been locked in for so long, they didn't really want to go back. They decided to visit the other museums. However, the dawn was going to come soon, and they would have to hide until the following night. So they ran to the Villa Vauban. Where were they going to hide? Certainly not in front of the large windows. The faun took out his flute and played a melody. "This way," called a voice from the Allegorie de Louis. The painting was a little small, but with a little magic they hid themselves safely there. The little faun was still slightly worried, though. At the MNHA, would they notice they were gone? Indeed, the keeper was starting his rounds. He passed before the faun's portrait when suddenly he stopped, stunned. Not believing what was in front of his eyes, he called the director, who came running. The photograph was there, but its sitter had disappeared. They called the police, the press, and the Amis and Petit Amis des Musées. All were dumbstruck. How could this have happened? How bizarre, they said. Leaving the adults to talk, the Petit Amis des Musées started to look for traces, clues, or a trail, and ended up finding one. The mastiff of the castle of Mansfeld had disappeared too. How mysterious! Meanwhile, at the Villa Vauban, the little faun and his dog stayed hidden away until nightfall. Then they crossed parks, streets, a bridge, as well as a footbridge, which curved among the trees towards a large and beautiful glass silhouette, the Musées. While they were wandering the halls of the museum, something on a bench caught the little faun's attention. Their portraits were on the front page of the news. Strange disappearance at the MNHA, read the article. Amazement at the MNHA. A famous piece of the collection had disappeared. Stranger still, the sitter of the photograph is gone. Even the most unlikely leads should be investigated. To know more about this, read the interview from the Petit Ami des Musées. The journalist: Children, do you know the artwork that had disappeared? It was a boy in a picture with small horns, said one. Antlers, said another. It was a faun. Do you have any idea why and where they disappeared from this photo? He was alone. Maybe he wanted to move around, said a third child. He certainly wanted a friend. That must be why the dog left too. He's certainly with him. I would so love for them to come back. Everything is empty and dark without them, said the little girl. At the same time, at the Musées. Suddenly, a ray of light swept through the museum. Dazzled, they backed away, tripped over into the fountain and ran away as fast as possible. Knowing that they were being followed, they hid themselves and entered the Musée Drei Eschlen through the drawbridge. In the dim light, they toured the museum silently. Then they descended into the underground gallery, the secret passage, and came out much further away, this time out of reach of any keeper. In order to go faster, the dog took the faun on his back, and with great strides they leapt through the valley and walked through the old city. They arrived at the Lëtzbuerg City Museum. They toured the museum from top to bottom. When the dog began to bark in front of a portrait of his master, the Count of Mansfeld, "Shush, be quiet," said the faun. But the dog continued. "We can't go there. Your castle isn't there anymore. It belongs to the past." "Unless, follow me, I have an idea." So the faun took him to the Marché aux Herbes around 1650. "Thanks to this panorama, maybe we can travel through time and find your castle," said the faun. And they jumped into the scenery. The dog found his way to the castle of Mansfeld and its gardens and even the cellar, of which he'd been the guard. But he looked a little lost, as several statues had disappeared. The castle seemed abandoned. "Well, next time we'll find an older etching, and we'll find your castle and maybe your master," said the faun. "We'll come back every night if we have to, I promise. But now it's time to go home. The Petit Ami des Musées have searched so long for us." This is how the two friends returned home to the MNHA, one to his glass window, the other to his photograph. Since then, they meet at night to have other adventures, and in the daytime they wait for you like all artworks in our museums. So, what are you waiting for? Come on, friends, let's go!